Well, the Houston Astros dropped the final game of the 3-game set this weekend versus the Dodgers, but they did win the series. And not to mention, Paul Skeens is coming to town with the Pirates. Another winnable series. Let's talk about this on the next edition of Locked On Astros.
Yanier Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. Find me on X at Eric Talkstros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. And we thank you for joining us, whether it's on a Saturday night after a big Astros win or a Sunday night after a big Astros loss. We're always here for you. Thank you for making us first listen, Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Go ahead and become an everydayer and go ahead and support us. Today's show is brought to you by supplyhouse.com. It is a reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get shipping from coast to coast at supplyhouse.com. And Brett, I think we're going to do a show later or now. I couldn't tell by the intro, but Brett H-Town Wheelhouse is here as well.
What's up, man? Technical difficulties. I think the Dodgers are in our system or something. The Russians have attacked or something's going on. But maybe we just forgot to wire the trash cans for the show. But I digress. Hey, man, you can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You know where else to find me on all the other socials. Let's just get down to brass tacks. You won the series against the Dodgers, which you want to win a series. You would love to sweep. But this rookie pitcher came out, Eric, and just really he did well. Arrighetti had the quality start, but it wasn't enough because the offense couldn't do enough. All the hits we got were extra base hits, but there was only 4 of them. And a lot of times with men not on base, so that doesn't really help. Right. So you can't really hang your head over this series. You would have loved the sweep because of who the Mariners were playing. We're still a percentage point up on them, but their next 2 opponents are the Phillies and what is the other team?
You said the Red Sox.
The Red Sox and then the Phillies. And then we've got the Pirates and then I believe the Rangers after that.
The Rays. The Rangers, then the Rays.
Rays, Rangers, and Red Sox. So, I think you still got some room to grow here. I think the Astros got to keep the pedal to the metal and they've got to find a way. Maybe they can beat Paul Skeens. I don't know. That may be the only game that I would have a problem seeing the Astros winning just because of who's opposing us on the mound.
Well, both rookie pitchers did pretty good today. Ryan went 5 2/3 innings, only 2 hits allowed, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts, 1 earned run. Arrighetti, this is going to look a little bit worse than it was, but 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 4 hits, 8 strikeouts. He allowed 2 home runs. So they were going neck to neck for the first 4 innings, and then you had Arrighetti give up the home run to Oatman in the 4th inning. Otherwise, it was scoreless game, and then they both kind of imploded a little bit in the 6th inning, and They both gave up. Ryan only gave up 1 of the runs, but Arrighetti gave up 2 more runs, but 2 runs were scored in the 6th inning. And so both rookie pitchers did a pretty good job in this game, 8 strikeouts apiece. They both limited the damage. All the Astros hits were extra bases, like you mentioned before the show. 4 hits, 4 extra base hits. Altuve had 2 doubles, and it goes back to what the Astros have struggled with all year. The runners in scoring position. They were 1 for 10 today with runners in scoring position. And it doesn't matter. That's still a quality start. Arrighetti pitched a heck of a game.
He did.
6 innings, 8 strikeouts, 3 runs. That's a quality start. So this is not on Arrighetti. You've got to have the offense be a little bit more consistent. You can't go out there and do what they did in the first 2 games and then come out and then only get 4 hits and not be able to get any runs home with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, exactly. There were some at-bats that you want to watch over and over and over again, like the walk-off by Alex Bregman. But there's at-bats that you want to, forget about. the one where Altuve swung at all 3 pitches that weren't even close to the home plate before Bregman's walk-off. Yordan Alvarez seems to still be swinging awry, just kind of not really at the best stuff. And when he was swinging at the best pitches, he was just barely fouling them off or just barely missing them. So maybe I think in this game, you're probably 2 barrels away from tying the ball game. I mean, John Singleton's, drive to center field is double could have gone out. That might have changed something. I mean, anything changes. There's a lot of talk about Joey Loperfido's strikeout rate. Although it is high, it's still lower, I think, than what it was when he was in AAA. And, Joey's just he's got a swing that he's going to have to make adjustments on and work, because the way he holds his hands out and high away from his body, he's got to learn to train to bring those hands in, to bring the hands inside the ball to make contact with that barrel. It's a quick swing. It's a little bit long for what I would like, but he's going to have to figure out how to fix that, because Loperfido, he needs to be one of those guys that contribute. He did the other night. He hit the opposite field, scored what I believe it was the tying run. Right. When it was 6-5, he tied it up 6-6. He didn't try to do too much. But things are going to happen like that. And doing this 2 out of 3 without most of your pitchers, without Kyle Tucker. I mean, you get out there and you win a series. I know it should have been a sweep, but you know what? I'll take 2 out of 3 over only winning 1 out of 3 any day, right, or getting swept, right? So that's where we have to look at how this thing is trending. Is I still think we're trending in the right direction. The road's still tough. It's still steep hill to climb. I still think we win the division, Eric, but the division race doesn't stop today. But you know what? The Rangers have made it known that Mike Lorenzen and Nathaniel Lowe are up for trade considerations. So the Rangers are in sell mode right now.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. And you might have some teams, and we'll talk about the Astros in a second, that are actually trading when they may actually, they're acquiring players when they may actually be sellers. So the Cubs may actually be sellers, even though they acquired Paredes. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I'm looking up Joey Loperfido's strikeouts. He's striking out at a 34.8% strikeout rate. I believe it was a little bit lower down in AAA. So I think he's striking out a lot higher rate up here.
Oh, it's higher. Okay. Then I must have misread a quote tweet from someone that I was thinking they were saying it was still. Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't find his stats right.
34, 36. I mean,
he's still striking out a lot. Like 1/3 of his at bats, he's striking out. So that's not a good. That's not a good rate for a major leaguer. 3 out of 10 times you get a hit, that's a good major league hitter. But if you strike out 1 out of every 3 at bats, that's not typically a good strikeout, good hitter, unless your name's Adam Dunn and you can add a whole bunch of home runs, and they kind of forget about the strikeout thing. But to go back to everything that the Astros are doing right now, they are doing this without Kyle Tucker. We still don't have a lot of updates on him, but Arrighetti went out there and gave it his all today. But the trade deadline, it's coming around the corner, and it's going to be here in about a day and a half or a day, whenever you're listening to this podcast. Dana Brown is running out of time, and he talked about this, about how it's still a seller's market, a buyer's market right now, or because there's a lot of need and not a lot of people out there that are selling. And you have something like the Cubs today. The Cubs traded Morel and a whole bunch of 2 prospects for Paredes. And this was something that shocked a lot of people, because they're like, wait, we're just talking about, we just went on this big discussion about the Dodgers or the Yankees who should trade for Paredes. And neither one of them, all of a sudden the Cubs said, hi, we're going to go ahead and step in the game and trade for him. And so what the Cubs are doing is they're gathering. They know they're probably not going to win this year, but they're also trying to trade major league talent for better major league talent. Morel, he has a lot of promise. He was a top prospect. He's not having a great season, but they capitalized on his value and they capitalized on what their prospects value are to get a great hitter. He's not going to be as great a hitter as he would have been at Minute Maid Park, because if you project how many home runs he's going to hit at Wrigley Field, it's only 11 versus the 27 he would have hit at Minute Maid Park. But it doesn't matter. They already made that decision, and so I don't know if Talion is going to be answer for the Houston Astros. We'll have to see if the Cubs decide to sell, but we'll go and continue this conversation in a second.
This episode is brought to you by StitchFix.com. You know, the instant confident boost you get when the outfit makes you look really good. Well, that's what Stitch Fix does. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, your size, and your budget, and they do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. I just give my stylist my size, my style, and my budget preferences. I order boxes what I want, and there's no subscription required. And they send me 5 just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations, pro styling advice, and so much more. My stylist always sends me just the right pieces, and it's almost like they have style ESP. Well, Stitch Fix makes it easy to do all this and takes all the guesswork out of going to a mall or a store or navigating people. Look, style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started with StitchFix.com/MLB and get $20 off your first fix. That's StitchFix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kid fixes.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us your first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. We appreciate each one of you. Go check out Michael Connor at the Locked On Astros postcast as well. He does a great job. I know they had a great show right after this loss today, but sometimes we're going to go on after losses, and the Astros aren't going to win every game because they're 55-50 right now, I believe. And they believe the Pirates are only one game over 500. But before we get to the Pirates series, let's go ahead and talk about what Dana Brown said ahead of the trade deadline. So there's for somebody that should be basically 24/7 like this on the phone and texting to work on deals, he's doing a lot of interviews. It seems like he's on the radio, on the TV, on
So
doing. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, here's a couple of quotes from him on what he said to Callis and Blummer. He said, it's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back until you get late into the process. Before the game, he said, you get close on some deals, you start talking about prospects, and then the prospect climb gets a little too heavy, and that makes it difficult. I can tell you what happened right now is that the Astros were going after Isaac Paredes. And when you saw Morel and 2 top prospects leave Chicago for that one player, they probably asked the Astros for too much. And so Dana Brown has to say that, yes, we're making deals, but in this market, it's easier said than done. Astros fans want something done just because they want to see something done because that is progress to them. But there's a lot more details. The devil's in the details in this process. And we've been through this before. They have been trying to shop around Montero's contract. They still keep rolling him out there. They still keep trying to give him chances, maybe that he would do something good. I mean, heck, you saw a friend of the show, Ryan Stanek, get traded to the Mets. He went to the Mets, him and Matan, in his first inning as a New York Met, he gave up 2 home runs today. And I mean, it's tough. I mean, this whole thing, whoever we get, I mean, surely we can get a Cal Quintrell. Surely we can get a rental like Jack Flaherty. But right now, the asking prices are just through the roof. And I mean, we've got player inflation going on.
Yeah, Dane Brown said that the market's really weird right now with a lot of buyers and not many sellers. He said that because of this, we're even talking to teams that are contending. Maybe they have a surplus. Maybe we have a surplus. Maybe there's something that we can do to swap players out and both teams will still do pretty good. This is what I've been talking about, using somebody like Chas McCormick or somebody that you may even see somebody like Jake Myers go for a starting pitcher. So if you can't find a match with the prospects, because if you look at the Astros can't compete with other teams' prospects. They don't have the same farm system that the Orioles do, that the Yankees do, that some of these other contending teams do. But they do have a surplus of outfielders right now. You have Melton that could be brought up at any point. He's hitting pretty well. You have Pedro Leon that could come up at any point. So I think what they see is the outfield as being a surplus right now.
Right.
So I think that they can use that for either a starting pitcher or a bullpen arm. And guys, the bullpen market is crazy. Are you seeing what some of these guys, what the Rays got for Adam? That was just crazy. And then you saw what they got for Stanek, and then all the other guys. And you know who's licking their chops right now? The Marlins, because they got Tanner Scott. Tanner Scott's a pretty good closer, and he's all the teams are trying to make out a deal with them, and they're like, well, we want more. We want more. You see what this other team did? We want you to beat that deal. And that's what's going on here.
Right. I mean, and Supreme Panda's asking about the Philly system. I mean, the Phillies right now are trying to gain people to help them, even though they have one of the best offenses, one of the best pitching cores in the league. And the Phillies do have prospects, but you saw where Zach Eflin went. He went to the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore Orioles have plenty of, assets. Someone asked me in DM today, do you think we'll trade with the Rangers? No, we won't trade with the Rangers. We won't go get Nathan Eovaldi. The Rangers will not do business with us. I really doubt that. But that was interesting when he did say we're talking to contenders, because you're talking to someone who potentially they could be helping you if you meet them in the playoffs, whether they're in your league or the National League.
That's what I've been saying for weeks now, though.
Yeah. Come on, Dana. Eric's been on that for weeks. Not just messing with you. So we talked again, and I just wanted to get a pulse of the people on X that are on X, because not everybody's on X. 303 votes later, after like 1 or 2 hours, I put the over under. I was like, if we put the over under at 1.5 trades, where are you at? And 66.3% say under. Everybody's like, I want to put over because I want it to be 2 trades, but I just don't see it. I don't know. So here's my question to you, Eric. If I'm someone who doesn't know baseball and I hear about this trade deadline thing, do you think if the Astros stand pat, they believe that they can contend with the World Series, and that's why they stand pat?
No, even Dana Brown has admitted that the Astros desperately need a starting pitcher, and they're probably not going to survive the rest of the season with the rotation the way it is. Because, like I've mentioned, the rotation, you got Ronel Blanco. He's about to exceed his innings limit if he hasn't already done it. You've got to give these guys some rest if you want them healthy and strong for October. And so Dana Brown knows, if nothing else, he addressed it today before the game. He said that we know that the priority is a starting pitcher. They asked, well, what about a bat? Well, if we get a bat, that'll be great, but we need a starting pitcher. Well, what about bullpen arm? Well, same thing with our bullpen arm. We have to rely on our leverage guys. So it'd be nice to get a bullpen guy, but we need a starting pitcher. And he used the word grind. We are grinding right now. And we're trying to we're in the midst of it. And he did say, you read the quote earlier, that it's a kind of a back and forth until it gets late in the process. Right. And then you've already have an idea what these teams want. And then you can go back and say, hey, so-and-so, remember the deal we talked about? What about if we did this? And the other team was like, okay, yeah, let's get it done. That's how you see so many trades get done at the last minute. It's not because they're like at the last minute, oh, hey, what about this trade? It's because they've put all the groundwork, and that's what Dana Brown's been doing. And so it just seems like he's doing all these interviews, and it's like Luna would be like doing the whole the Justin Verlander thing. Don't leave me alone. Let me do my work.
To me. Yeah. So, hey, real quick, before we talk about our great sponsors, I want to address this real quick, because I actually saw Trevor Bauer address this. He goes, Charles says, I may get blasted, but what's the harm in Trevor Bauer? Trevor Bauer on his YouTube channel, they showed it on one of the highlights, said that, can you believe that this MLB or Facts on MLB, a parody website, got the whole thing started about me being scouted by the Astros. And he goes, they're actually the ones that started it. And he goes, all these people believed that I was going to go to Houston and all this stuff. Look, even Trevor Bauer knows that he's not getting looked at by any team. So, like, y'all can stop mentioning him because Trevor knows what's going on. He's playing the fiddle of the parody sites. I just thought that was an interesting twist. I wasn't aware of that until today.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and continue this conversation. And what did Dana Brown say about untouchable prospects?
This episode is brought to you by Supply House. Go to supplyhouse.com for all your plumbing, HVAC, and electrical product needs. For the skilled tradesman, you need the right parts in the right place. You need the right people to deal with. You shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, where you talk to a real person every single time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us first listen, Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check us out. And I have some breaking news. Brett has just been traded to the Locked On Rays podcast. So bye, Brett. We'll go ahead and the new co-host will be joining you tomorrow after all the physicals are taken care of and everything.
Wow. Man.
I didn't even tell you I was going to do that.
You did not tell me how you were going to do it. You traded me to the Locked On Rays podcast. Well, we know Mr. Rashad listens to both Locked On Astros and Locked On Rays, so he would probably not be too upset with that. Trevor, hey, Trevor, let's make a trade. Hey, Trevor, I know what. Why don't you call Dana and get one of your Buffalo Bandits guys to like go bully Dana Brown into making a trade? How's that? Dude, I still think that we make some kind of move. I really have a hard time believing that this club does nothing. And if Brian McTaggart's epiphany or thought is true, I don't know how it comes to fruition fully. He said if the Astros don't do anything, that means something is seriously wrong. I don't see anything seriously wrong. Now, does that mean there's seriously something wrong with both Tucker and JV not coming back at all? But they did say recently that JV and Garcia were both going to be doing mound work. We did see video of Kyle Tucker playing catch. Someone's like, his low throws really concern me. I'm like, how do we become such good analysts of baseball players that we judge their catching and say, well, I don't think he's playing catch well enough to be on the team? I don't know. It's like, come on, man. Some of us need to dial back the armchair quarterbacking out there. Michael Schwab is correct, Trevor. There are crickets. I have tapped into all the people that I talk to, the places that I go, their accounts that I read. Look, some guys have accounts out there, and you got to read between the lines of what they're saying. In there, you can tell they're in on some stuff. I'm not hearing jack squat for the Astros at all, like nothing. So that could be two things. That could be the Astros are absolutely playing it close to the vest, or not letting anybody know, or every time they move forward, even though it's one step back, that one step could be a huge step back. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause he's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We don't know how far that step is. So
I think the wild card is Kikuchi. I think he's probably the guy we're possibly going to end up with. But it depends on what prospects you're going to give up. And Dana Brown said that none of his prospects are untouchable. The other day he did mention that There's some that he would rather not give up, of course. And he went on to say this today: if you have a guy in AAA that was dominating and he was really good and he was one phone call away, I think that guy will probably be untouchable. But for the most part, everybody's in play. It's just a matter of getting the right balance in trade. You don't want to give up too much, but you still want to improve the team. And that's why the idea of trading with a contender or trading with somebody that you can maybe not have to trade a major leaguer or trade something from a surplus makes sense. That's why we were talking earlier this year about trading like a pitcher, or I forgot what the trade was, but trading with the White Sox with I think it was Valdez to the White Sox, something like that. But that wouldn't work because the White Sox are not winning. But if you wanted, no way we're trading Valdez the way he's kind of turned things around now. But if you're going to trade Valdez anywhere to get, if the Astros had it, they don't have a surplus right now. I'm just giving you an example, but you would trade with contender if you had a surplus in pitching, but the Astros do not. So I think that that Dana Brown is taking all this consideration. If we had to trade one of our outfielders, if we had to trade Jake Myers, if we had to trade Dubon, if we had to trade Chas McCormick, Alvarez is not going anywhere, so we don't have to worry about that.
I think clearly it would be someone like Chaz. I don't see them trading someone like Mauricio Dubon. I think he's too valuable. Greg Kessinger can't really fill that role because he hasn't been given the opportunity to, and I don't think he has.
He got Yanier Diaz.
We got Yanier Diaz. You haven't seen him since that one game.
Right.
Hopefully the Diaz experiment is short-lived. But I really would like to know what the Rays wanted or what the Rays asked the Astros for Isaac Paredes. I really want to know.
I would guess, Brett, they like young pitching. I bet they're asking for Hunter Brown.
Yeah.
I bet you they're asking for Hunter Brown.
And look, someone said Robel Garcia. I think Hunter Brown has it in him to be the opening day starter next year. Now, if Framber Valdez is still here, more than likely they give it to the more veteran guy. But Hunter Brown's really earned that, Eric. I mean, the way he's pitching. And you'll get this. I didn't mention this earlier. Spencer Arrighetti has the third most walks for any pitcher who has thrown 80 innings or more. Right. So that's something that Arrighetti, even though he had some more walks again, he had a quality start. And you just got to look, when the counter is a great rookie pitcher, that's what I hope. I hope tomorrow night, Paul Skeens, no offense, I hope he really falters last night. I hope Livy Dunn has to console him after the game because he's crying because the Astros hit 5 home runs off of him, right? But I don't know, man. Paul Skeens he's a dude.
Well, if you compare the stats, I mean, it's a good thing that these games aren't played on paper because this is it heavily favors the Pirates in this game. Blas, this is actually I want to say this is the 4th or 5th time that team 2 pitchers that were drafted in the previous year actually pitching against each other. And Jake Blas and Skeens were both drafted last year. Skeens obviously is doing a little bit better, but Blas has the potential. He hasn't been able to have that success he did in the minor leagues yet, but I think the Astros have a lot of hope for him. But Skeens is 6-1 with a 1.93 ERA. He has 97 strikeouts. He can throw in the hundreds. Yes, I did say that he can throw in the hundreds. He's a very elite guy. He's somebody that Major League Baseball felt deserved to be All-Star game, even though he didn't play a full first half of the season. So the Astros have a big matchup. If you look at the rest of the series, it may not be that daunting, but facing Paul Skeens, if the Astros are able to win the first game, I think the rest of the series should be a little bit easier.
Oh yeah. I mean, you definitely want to win game 1. But if you don't win game 1, I think games 2 and 3 are winnable games. This is not a Pirates team. They do have good players. They're not overly dominant. The Pirates don't concern me outside of what Skeens has done this year. I mean, they are, like you said, one game over 500. They're not chumps. But this Astros team, if they can stay within themselves, not go out of the strike zone. Look, he's a rookie. Paul Skeens, as great as he is, he's still a rookie. You got to exploit those mistakes. Early on, the Astros had opportunities. You start the game off with 2 walks against this rookie pitcher, River Ryan. Sorry. I almost said River Ryan. And what happens? He settles down and he settles in, and he just kind of took command. The Astros were 5 for 10 with runners in scoring position the game before. Today they were 0 for 6. It's going to happen when you don't get the RISP going, as we like to say on the show. Trevor says,
yeah,
Chaz
definitely a
Steve.
situation where they haven't faced.
You seen that?
Yeah, they haven't faced a pitcher before. Yes, so they typically they don't do well against those type of pitchers. And later in I think Game 3 in the Pirates series, we're going to be facing Martin Perez. So this is somebody that the Astros have dominated. Also, he has dominated them in the past with his time with the Rangers. So I think this series is to be interesting. I think the Astros, the rest of the schedule, it kind of gets a little bit easier for them. So I think their strength of schedule for the rest of the season is probably one of the easiest. So we'll have to see. The Pirates, and then you have the Rays. The Rays, they're not that far out, but at the same time, they're selling. So who's going to still be on the team after trade deadline for the Rays? So they still have some assets they can trade. So Brett and I will be here for the rest of the trade deadline. We'll keep you updated as much as we can. We'll go ahead and go live after tomorrow's Astros win, hopefully. And that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett Chancey. And go ahead, become everydayer, somebody that listens to our podcast every day. And we appreciate you, and go Astros.
I started wigging out there at the end.